Greetings, everyone out there in YouTube land, iPodcasting land. This is Getting It Off Her Chest. I'm Jay Del Rey, and I've got a beautiful lady here with me today. Her name is Colleen Dooley. She's going to tell you what she does, but I just want to give you a little bit of background. I've met Colleen a decade ago. I like saying that, and and I can't believe it's been 10 years, because it just feels like it's gone. And haven't we done a lot in 10 years?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes, what a journey. And we met through mutual friends, but I also, you were a hypnotherapist. You at the time you were doing past life regression therapy, which I was at I was living in Byron, and I was at a crossroads in my life, and I came to you with a real issue that I was having at the time, and we did a past life regression session, and it was absolutely profound. I'm not just saying that. Still to this day, I remember it, and what it showed me, and how it clarified a situation in my life that was tormenting me. And I was able to see through that past life exactly what it was, exactly how it related to my present moment life. And I was able to, I'm not saying it cleared instantly, but it was a process of understanding. So it was like the light shined on the issue, and I was able to see it for actually what it was, instead of, the mind fuckery that we have, that we think is the story. So it gave me such insight, and I think your work is really powerful. I've also had a HeartEnergetix session with you not too long ago, which was also absolutely beautiful and healing. So I wanted to hand it over to you to talk to us, the viewers and the listeners, about what it is that you do, and how did you get into doing the work that you're doing?
Hello, everyone, and hello, lovely Jay. What I do is a little bit of a unique form of hypnotherapy. I co-created along the way with a colleague of mine, bringing hypnotherapy together with energy and consciousness. And I've kind of taken it myself from then to create HeartEnergetix. So it's a beautiful modality for the fact that it not only releases at the core, so it's permanent release of things that hold us back, but in doing so, it releases those levels of those layers of conditioning that sit on top of who we truly are. So the more of those layers we can release, the more we connect with who we truly are and who we're here to be, which is so important, that we're all here living our truth, our purpose, and doing what we're here to do. So that's the beauty of not only, healing something that holds us back, but stepping more into who you truly are. So that's HeartEnergetix, and it's a beautiful modality, obviously all about heart. Yeah. And past life regression, most people know, but it's discovering more about who we are at an immortal level. And as you said, we bring imprints in from other lifetimes. If we've attempted learnings before and haven't kind of nailed them, we'll continue to bring them into lifetimes. And this is an amazing time of awareness. So being able to go into, the energetic connection to those lifetimes that we're holding in our field, and be able to get the realizations, understanding, and again, release all the limiting beliefs and energy associated with our attempts before, so that we are free to fully learn them here, because that's what we are here to do. But obviously it's hard to fulfill a learning if we've got, fear of being killed, or, things that have happened in other lifetimes playing out. So without that, we're free to really live it and fulfill it. And then I also do what's known as between lives spiritual regression. So most people may have heard of life between lives, spiritual regression, and I was trained as an LBL therapist many, many moons ago. I did the first Australian training back in 2008, and have continued to do that. And I've worked that was through the Newton Institute, and I worked with them. I was instructing and part of the teaching team for a long time, but I've taken my own little journey there, and I call it Soul Awakening Journey. So, same sort of process of connecting to your immortal wisdom, that real soul kind of essence that we truly are, and to feel and embody that is incredibly powerful. So I do those sessions as well. So, sometimes they can merge into each other, but it's the intent you come with that I guess gives us a starting point. So
Mm.
that's what I do per se, but I also teach all of that. So I run the HeartEnergetix Institute, and I teach all of those different things to other people who want to make a difference in the world and create heart-based practitioners.
Well, let's talk about heart for a minute. It's where we're moving to, right? It's where we're moving, stepping into more heart-based connections, connecting more from that level with everybody, releasing trauma. I mean, it seems to be all about that right now, doesn't it? And it's not a quick process either. It can, like for me, for example, I've had a lot of therapy and done a lot of things, and it's kind of like layers and layers. So once you strip the layers back, then you can get to another part. So I'd say, how important do you feel is the work that you do in particular in helping someone move forward and getting through these blocks? Like how is your work unique?
Well, it's unique in that you don't need ongoing sessions. In most cases, 1 to 2 sessions is all somebody needs. And someone can
Right.
walk in a session with 35 years of anxiety and walk out without it because it's energy. They may have
Okay.
been told that they need to medicate and they've got to live with the diagnosis of having anxiety and learning to manage it. But, being able to go into the core of why that was created, it's the mind protecting us as it always does, but going into
Mm.
the core of that and releasing it there with wisdom and knowing. So when I say it's permanent release, it's because our practitioners empower people to do their own healing. So we go back into the core of when the wounding occurred and bring them into a space of connecting to their own truth. And when we know the truth in a moment, because as you know, Jay, we take on other people's stuff from the moment we land in the womb, actually. If we haven't brought in our family lineage dysfunction, we'll most likely bring in past life, but we'll also kind of take on mum's stuff and dad's stuff in the womb. So from
Yeah.
the moment we're taking it all on. So wherever that wounding occurred, the mind will be able to take us back because we track the energy to the very
Mm.
first time. And when that person is in a space of reconnecting, but they're still consciously connected to their current awareness and wisdom and all that they have access to, higher
Mm.
awareness and wisdom, then it totally shifts how they perceive that first experience. And if you ever hear Dr. Bruce Lipton talk, he's very aligned with this. It's the
Yeah.
perception
Right.
that creates whatever's held and creates the issues in our lives. So it's about not changing the memory, not reframing it, which I was traditionally trained to do. A traditional hypnotherapist typically reframes and
Okay.
changes, embeds new suggestions. This is naturally enabling somebody to discover what's true for them. So if it's, when they realize what's really going on in that moment, in that memory, then their belief is realized to be flawed. Energetically, they shift through that, and it's almost revealing what's underneath that flawed belief. So if I've got a belief running that I'm not safe, what naturally reveals is I'm safe, I'm comfortable, and the
Mm.
feeling of, maybe it's empowerment, whatever's underneath that naturally surfaces. And that's because it's such a journey of truth, knowing, learning, and growth. Then that's looked back at, even if it was a traumatic event that they thought happened to them or was done to them, they can see it completely differently, and they feel and experience it within them completely differently.
So
So
do they,
very, yeah,
sorry, I
that's
was just
okay.
going to say, do they experience it from more of an, you know, observing it from an outer perspective instead of really being enmeshed with it? They're actually observing. Is that how it kind of to be a bit less involved in the trauma and actually being able to see it from a different vantage point? Is that how it kind of
Well,
works?
no, traditional hypnotherapy would typically do that. They'll desensitize, but what we will do is track the trauma. So we'll energetically take somebody into what's held anyway, but we don't stay there and wallow in it. We just connect to the pain will pull us in to the moment, and then all we're looking at is how it was perceived. So it's not as if we take somebody in to wallow in the pain of a memory, but they need to touch it, and they
Yeah.
need to do the healing where the wounding occurred for it to be a really, really powerful experience of shift and release because they know how it's held. It's there, it's energetically revealed. And then as they're gaining the awareness and insight, it just naturally shifts and shifts and shifts. And sometimes we'll need to go into another memory that's connected to that, that's holding a little bit more. And then the whole thing just naturally transmutes. But they do need to touch the pain, and it is very powerful reason. It'll pull us. Yeah, it'll pull us. So even when I do a past life regression, I'll say to my clients, if you hit trauma, that's gold. When you're working with somebody who can fully release it. And yeah, that's the key, because if it's not fully released, it's just going to be changed and covered up with new beliefs or new awareness of some sort. If it's not fully released, I believe, if it's a big lesson, a big learning, it's going to show up again. Some things won't be, but the big things, we're here to learn, grow and evolve from our experience. So it'll keep showing up if we need a deep awareness around it in order to heal it and to be who we are today, and to realize that that journey has been absolutely perfect and purposeful for who we are today. So that's what the work is really powerful for, is the realization of, I can't see things in the same way anymore because I know that I asked certain souls to play these big roles for me. And when you're in the experience of really getting the truth of that, so I don't feed my clients that, I facilitate them through questioning and drawing out their truth, their awareness, and they, as they're answering, speak and feel the truth themselves, and that's the shift. So it's really,
So, I guess in some counselling, you're told, well, you're not doing the journeying, are you, really? Sometimes in counselling, you're kind of telling the story, but you're not really going into that depth that needs to be. It's like talk therapy is one level, but if you really want to get to change on a lasting level, you've got to get to that trauma that can keep repeating, which I've had. I've had stuff that keeps repeating in my life, and it can look in a different package to what you may have seen it previously. That's where you kind of go, well, no, this is different. This is completely different. But then down the track, you can go far out. It's just the same shit, but just in a different. So I haven't worked with that. So that's why
the same underlying belief and feeling, even though it's playing out in different ways. So you may not have detected that it's the same thing. So even in an intake, I'll question people around what they've come for and find out that there's often a theme. So it's actually not necessarily what they think they're coming for. The underlying theme might be self-worth, and yet they're talking about lack of money or how relationships are dysfunctional. But, you can see that theme, I'm not good enough, will be playing out, not good enough to receive the things.
And filter out into all aspects of your life. But if you get to that nugget, that core root reason, then you can kind of the possibilities, because we are, aren't we? We're just full of possibility, full of potential, and people aren't living their full potential because they're so blocked by trauma. Everybody's got trauma. Would you say that's true?
Oh, absolutely. It's just the level of which, to a child, somebody will be, concerned about what could be this big thing be under the surface. And it could just be an incident in childhood where they were lost in a shopping centre. And you cannot say that that's not as traumatic as an abuse scenario, because to the child at 4 years of age, terrified in a shopping centre, that's enormous trauma, and it's locked in as intensely. So to us as adults, we'll go, but that's a little thing. It's not to the child who's experienced the wounding. And that's the aspect of them that is still holding that. And that's who we heal. The little version of them, or the past life version, or whoever's holding that trauma is who we heal. So,
it's fantastic. Do you think there's a lot of people that are afraid to go to the depths of what they need to really tap into to heal? So they're doing they might be doing lots of different things, but they're still going, well, why is there no change? Do you believe that it's because they haven't got to that real core thing that they need to address?
Well, it's the state of readiness. There's so many modalities, and I would never say any one modality, including mine, is the absolute way to go or the best approach. It's according to what you do. So, people are drawn to me because they're ready for what I can offer. They've possibly dabbled around with other modalities and chipped away a little bit. But when they're ready to go deep, they have to be ready for that, so, and sometimes they don't know that they're not ready and they may block and resist, and we need to work with that. A lot of, hypnotherapists are taught, just to say to people, look, you're not ready and whatever, but I'll work with the resisting and blocking if my client really wants that. So everybody's different in their state of want and readiness, but if they've dabbled around quite a bit and they're not getting anywhere, then they need to go deeper if they truly want to heal. Yeah, that's my belief, and that's my experience as well.
Yes, and mine too. So can you give us examples or an example of somebody you've worked with and what came through, or something, you don't have to mention names obviously, but something that comes to mind that was really profound as a result of the work that you've done?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that popped into my head was a woman who'd lost her son. He suicided, and it was 3 years down the track and she hadn't got through her grief. And I used to work at grief retreats for Charmaine Wilson, and the people who went there had lost a significant loved one, often a child. So they were stuck in their grief process. So she was teaching them the spiritual side of who we are as a human, having this human experience. And then myself and a colleague would take them into session, whether it be past life or therapy, to release them out of their grief because they were stuck in one of the stages. So this particular woman wasn't at that retreat, but it just brought it to mind how significant grief is in what plays out for us. It's often underlying most things. Anyway, this lady, we tracked into the core of her pain, and suddenly she just naturally went into connecting with the soul of her son, and her son reminded her. So here she was, fully open in her beingness, because we work with all of who we are, our conscious mind, our subconscious, superconscious, and collective unconscious. So we're connected to all things at all times in session. And so she's gone in and connected to her son, the soul of her son, who reminded her that they had a project, they had a mission here together, and that he was supposed to, because he was really loved and really, he was a beautiful young man that everybody loved. And suddenly he was no longer, and they'd all struggled with that. But when she remembered that they had a project that they were working on called Project Kindness, is what she referred to it as, that he would do the first stage of, really connecting to people. And then when he left, it was her time to kick in. And all the people who came to her and supported her and showed kindness, she was initially really resentful toward. How can you accept? How can you be? She was really anti. When she got the realization, the understanding that they were working on this together and he was meant to leave, she hadn't done anything wrong. She didn't miss anything. When people suicide, did I miss something? She was being herself, taking on the blame of his death. She realized in her truth and knowing that she was here to do something with him, and it's now time for her to kick in. So then she wanted to work with emergency services people and work with being kind to them after their trauma, and all that kind of thing started to bubble around. And so she came out of that without her pain. She still had her loss, but she didn't have it sitting here where she had almost shut herself off to the world and certainly kindness. So she realized she was part of that whole kindness thing, and she could let it in and do something with it because she knew it. And once you know something, you can't unknow it. So that's the of a session. You get your truth. It's different to a belief, and she now walks living that, so she can then continue the stage of grief. It may still require another level of just crying or whatever she needs to do, but she's not stuck and trapped in that. So yeah, that's an example.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Lots and lots. But sometimes it's trapped into the body. Like a lady I saw had panic attacks, and she was almost frozen into her body. And similar sort of thing happened with her. She was called because her son had a bad motorbike accident. She turned up to the scene as the ambulance drivers were closing the back of the doors, and she just knew that he died. And in that moment, she locked that shock. Shock locked her body. And every 10 minutes, she'd have panic attacks. And when we went into that, and she was able to get the realization she needed around that moment. And of course, it didn't just start there. The beliefs underlying, we had to go back and work with, but we had to work with that scene powerfully. She came out not only freed emotionally, but she was freed physically. She was able to stand up. She looked 10 years younger. I'm not joking, because she was just holding her face, which we do. We talk about energetics face lift. It's true. But as she opened up, and she didn't have a panic attack again. So that's the beauty of that. Being able to get the truth awareness and release, free yourself in all those occasions, free of that, to move to the next moment, and you take all of that.
And it is freeing, isn't it? It's just something you said about, like, when we hold on to stuff and it jars us, and then when we go do that work that unlocks it, it's like this heaviness that we're carrying around with us that affects everything, every decision we make, every choice we make, every connection that we have, our conversations, everything, our energy, our vibration frequency is affected if we don't look at our stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's bringing people up to not only a state of neutral, say, for example, in a memory, we go beyond, because it's the natural sense of who we are, our natural vibration underneath all of this conditioning is so high and so beautiful. So it just naturally raises us time and time again. And then it doesn't stop there, because the ripple effect of that touches others. And it's just so amazing. The healing somebody will do in session with their mother, who they've been estranged from for 10 years, will call them straight after session. So energetically, there's healing going on in the background. But it's, if I've released a whole lot of stuff and I go and interact with somebody, I'm in a different vibration, and I can touch differently,
Yeah.
So very powerful energetically.
It's fantastic. And how has it helped you in terms of your own journey? I mean, because obviously when we train in something, we have to embody it and go through the whole process ourselves. I mean, how has that helped you? And do you kind of, because of your knowledge, can you do that yourself, or do you go to somebody to get, do you have someone that you need to offload to and help you?
Yeah, I do. I feel that as a practitioner, I need to do my own healing all the time. So I'll use somebody in my community if I can. Because I know this work, I will choose that first and foremost, but also open up to other modalities. I can do some of the stuff myself, because once you have an awareness of who we are, and it, I've had this doubting Thomas side of me, Jay, you wouldn't realise, but it's always kind of popped this little head up from time to time. Used to be stronger, but unless it can't be proven and tangibly touched, it doesn't exist, was always the belief behind. But I had a knowing as well. So coming into this work with this knowing has helped me move through it, obviously, and the more I release energy and connect to something, the more I trust it. So that's the journey. I think for most people, it's like using intuition. The more you trust it, the more it grows. It's like a muscle. So I can go into a session myself, so to speak, or an issue, and I can just allow my mind to take me. I can kind of get in a really relaxed, almost trancey state, and go back and get some realizations and shift some things. But when it comes to deeper stuff, I definitely need to be in the hands of somebody else so I can fully let go.
Yeah, but I think it's so important, especially there's coaches, dime a dozen out there, and I've had experience because through my cancer journey, I've seen a lot of people, a lot in the 7 years, nearly 8 years I've been on this journey. Lots of modalities, experience, lots of people I've seen, and there is an element of healers out there that have not even doing their own work. And I think it's really important that we continue to do the work, especially if we're in a position like you are, you've got somebody's life in your hands. If you haven't got your shit sorted, how can you help other people? And how can you help other people if you haven't experienced your own level of trauma and know where they've been as you have? The thing I know about you, because I've known you for this quite longevity, that is that you do move through things really quickly. I have noticed that within you, and that is a sign to me of somebody who walks the talk. You are a living example of having some really full-on experiences in your life, but you do the work, and you can't help others if you're not dealing with the crap that we have to. You know, there's other people out there that come into our existence, and we have to continually be discerning, and there's still things that play within us that can capture us, and sometimes we have to go to a more deeper experience to finally get the lesson, you know,
Yeah,
which
for sure.
sucks, but
Well,
but I think it
that's,
just makes you,
we love it when we go back home. We go, yay, that was great. We did really well. But down here,
yeah,
it's, and we do take our spiritual journeys way too serious. And this human thing, that's the message. I cannot tell you how many times clients in session, including me, go back to the between space with these beautiful higher beings giving us wisdom and support in our evolution and our growth. Will say, you humans are so funny, you take it so seriously. And we do. We just,
yeah,
if we could lighten up and
yeah,
and see things as they really are, that this is an experience and it's such
yeah,
an opportunity. And
yeah,
that's the other thing about the work, Jay, is that how it's helped me and others is that you can't see life in the same way. I can't see, about my year last year. I had a
yeah,
ginormous traumatic year, but the whole time I knew it was purposeful. I knew that I created it and that I was
yes,
going to come out the end with great growth. The reward of that journey was going to be the great growth. And I could see that, and that kept me okay during it. I never felt like a victim to it. Other people felt
yes,
that, and they would go,
yeah,
"Oh, that's terrible." I
yeah,
didn't feel, so
yeah,
that's the truth of our journey to me, and I know it.
yeah.
So we're all the same. If we can see and sense that this is perfect in every moment, you can't be a victim to it, and that will hold you in a different place when you go through it.
Oh yeah, and I think there is a period of victimhood. I think when we've been
Yeah,
through something, we do feel, and we point the finger and blame and just get really
yeah,
fucked off and pissed off. How
yeah,
dare you?
yeah,
And then we come through this realization, oh, I actually
yeah.
had a hand in that. I was actually the one that brought that on. And now I can look at, something I heard today on a podcast this morning was being creative with solutions sometimes, being creative. How can I kind of get to that point where I accept this? And that's where you go and find someone like you and go, I want to get my shit sorted. If you want to be the best version of yourself, you have to go and do the tough stuff. And I actually think with your work, because I've experienced both modality heart energetics and past life regression, um, they were really profound and uniquely different, actually, because obviously there was nearly 10 years between the two experiences. So I've grown a lot in that 10 years. So it was more of with your heart energetics, I felt it was very nurturing and loving, which is exactly what I needed. I needed acceptance and love for exactly where I was, for exactly what I went through. And with the past life regression, I had an understanding of why I'd repeated a pattern in a relationship. It was just phenomenal. It was
Mm.
phenomenal. So I was able to heal from that relationship pretty quickly. It took a couple of months. It's like, you're kind of integrating the knowing, aren't you? So the resonance shifts, an understanding occurs, but you have to sit with that for a little bit as it.
Oh, yeah, definitely the processing and integration that happens after for the conscious mind. And the conscious mind in this work is really, really important for the fact it becomes an observer. So it's
Mm,
journeying back, but it's watching and paying attention to all that's happened and where that all came from. And whilst it's, shifting and healing in session, there's a really important role then for the conscious mind to come when the person comes back into an awake state of wow, and then we debrief it so that there's
yeah.
another integration happening there, and then the person goes away and the conscious mind still goes through that. And to
Mm,
me, like I've had lots of experiences of healing as well, And some modalities, I feel that something's happening, but I don't really know it's being done to me. So my conscious mind doesn't fully get it. And its role is to get and understand and make sense of the world for us. So I found that if it doesn't fully get it, it's harder to own it. So that's the power of coming out, debriefing, making sure the conscious mind's really getting it. And it also can't deny what happened, because it knows that when we landed in a painful memory, that it was felt this way, seen that way, and then it completely shifted, and they can now feel. So the mind's doing the reference thing. Oh yeah, comparing and doing all that sort of stuff because it was part of the process. And then it really helps to sort of go, yep, I know that I'm free of that. This is who I am. You know, so it's a really powerful experience. But it comes back to what you said before. It's about acceptance.
Yes.
So all the sessions I do at one level, on no matter what happens in a moment, it's about, some people don't like the word forgiveness, but forgiveness is just accepting, just letting go. You know, it's just okay, letting it go, not for anybody else but for you. Yeah. And so then you just accept that that's how it is, like, because you're in the present tense when you're in a memory. Okay, I get it. And because of the realization that, you know, I can tap into somebody's soul knowing that they asked that perpetrator to play that role for them at a soul level, there's a real acceptance there. There's no longer a angst around, you're the worst person in the world. It's like, wow, you did this for me? Yeah. So really, it's something you can't get in a conscious state very easily. I hope we can one day, but right now, with who we are in the world, it's something that's beautiful to realize at a level deep within, you know. So that makes sense.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you and talking about this work, and that I've had experience with it is I'm testament I'm still here and I'm thriving. And I love you dearly. You're a beautiful, heart-centered woman. I mean, HeartEnergetix, what a perfect name for the work that you do. So thanks, Colleen. And I hope I'm going to leave some contacts and connections, how people can get in touch with you to do this work. It's massive. So thank you. I love you.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome.